Welcome back to Jamie's Vinyl Hideaway. I'm Jamie and I'm pretending it's Saturday night. Anyway, a couple quick corrections for the show last week on Alice Cooper. Of course, Alice Cooper had a title track to Billion Dollar Babies, great song. And that was Glenn Buxton playing lead guitar on Blue Turk. I heard Dennis Dunaway mention that recently. So anyway, oh yeah, and the Stump the Jamie question was what Alice Cooper song was, what movie was He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask? And Yankees 76 said it was Halloween, with Rob Zombie's Halloween. But it turns out that was wrong. It was Friday the 13th, Part 6 in 1986. So anyway, what I'm doing now is I'm getting back into the roots that would have influenced Alice Cooper. And that would be, as you see here, the Kinks. Now, the Kinks came out with their third single back in late 1964. And it wasn't until 5 years after Link Ray invented the power chord with his song Rumble that anybody had really kind of hit it right on. And there's a little guitar solo in the middle of this song, You Really Got Me, well-known song, where Dave Davies plays the lead guitar. It was rumored that Jimmy Page played the lead guitar, but that was completely wrong. And I think some people still believe those rumors. Kind of like the chicken rumor, you know, at the Alice Cooper concert. So here we are, Dave changing the world. Was nothing. Sorry. Too far in. Sorry, you just got to hear the beginning of this. It's just not the same. That song, You Really Got Me, was a standard for Mott the Hoople to do live, which appeared on the first Mott the Hoople album. But there was another song on this album, covered by the Pretenders, Stop Your Sobbin', which I'm not going to play right now, because I really want you to hear the Slim Harpo song. Now, every good British band of those days did a bit of the blues. Some of them did a lot more than a bit. And this song here, Got Love If You Want It, by Slim Harpo. Play a little bit of that.
I
Now, that album in the US appeared as You Really Got Me. It had the same picture on it, except it said You Really Got Me. This is a British issue, a later one, black and white Pie Records. The original Pie record would have, besides being a lot thicker, would have been a different color, maybe a pinkish, purplish. The Kinks got a contract with the American label, Reprise. Now, Reprise was started by none other than Frank Sinatra. And his label had a little picture of him in 3 different colors. In the early 60s, he started that label. They started doing rock and roll acts by 1964, I suppose, and they took a chance on the Kinks. The original Reprise, I say Reprise, some people say Reprise. I heard a guy on Little Steven's Underground Garage a while back pronounce it differently than I do. But he gets a right to do that because that's a great show. Anyway, what are we going to play here from this album? Kinda Kinks. A song that Dave sang. Okay. I wonder where my baby is tonight. Dave and Ray shared a lot of the lead vocals early on when the Kinks were starting out. They did a lot of covers in the beginning, but by the time this record came out, it's only their second one to come out in the United States. Ray was writing most of the songs. Let's get a little bit of I Wonder Where My Baby Is Tonight by Dave.
Where my baby is tonight. I wonder where my baby's gone. Hope she'll do no wrong. Looking for my baby. She's not around. I wonder where my baby is tonight. I wonder what on earth my baby's doing. If she's not at home, they're trouble brewing.
This was actually the second album to come out in the UK and the third US album. US albums were different than the British imports back in those days. Has stats on every member of the band here. Ray Davies, or Davis as he pronounces it these days, probably the English way. Dave Davies, and Mick Avery on drums, and Peter Quaife, the late Peter Quaife on bass guitar. Hey, what's this? What's this? Oh, this must be a Stump to Jamie. Stump to Jamie #1. What is the name of the rock opera the Kinks wrote in 1969? It's been called a rock opera. I'm not sure that that's quite the accurate term. Arthur, or the Decline and Fall of the British Empire. I would like if we can get to that, but that's like several albums away. We don't cover it here on the Kinks Part 1. There's always going to be a Kinks Part 2. Set Me Free was that what you heard a little bit of. That was a big hit by the Kinks, for the Kinks, I mean. Everything here will be by the Kinks, right? Kinda Kinks. But before the Kinda Kinks album came out in the States, there was a Kink Size, which had Tired of Waiting for You, All Day and All Night, 2 really big hits for the Kinks. This didn't come out in the UK, this album. And this is going to be a later reissue brown Reprise label that I bought back in the 80s. I was hoping it was a little old at that time, which it might have been. Tired of waiting for you. Are we going for Louie Louie? Yep, we're going for Louie Louie. Now, so many people did Louie Louie. And the American hit, of course, by the Kingsmen, you know, you couldn't understand the lyrics, supposedly. And they were assumed to be dirty lyrics. But hopefully Ray singing here will set some of that straight. Although I won't get to the part where she says, or he says, "I'll never, you know what, again." Up next, Kingdom. That just guitar solo goes on forever. So Kingdom, the next album here, was the album that followed King Size. They used to show all the little albums on the back, the previous albums that the band had released at the time. And this is also on a tricolor Reprise mono. And I'm going to kind of go against the norm here and play a hit. Well, besides the You Really Got Me thing. But this is such a good song, and this is where Ray Davis starts writing songs about people. In what I've learned that it's called observational writing, and that's it. Anyway, a well-respected man.
Cause he gets up in the morning and he goes to work at 9 and he comes back home at 5:30, gets the same train every time. Cause his world is built on punctuality, it never fails. And he's all so good, and he's all so fine, and he's all so wealthy in his body and his mind. He's a well-respected man about town, doing the best things so conservatively. And his mother goes to meetings while his father pulls a man.
Louie Louie also appears on this album, as do a couple other songs from those two previous albums. So they did a lot of that in the States as well. To get their fill-up albums, sell more albums, get their songs out. That's cool. Anyway, the next one I'm going to play for you is a British import on the Pi. I bought this in the early 80s. Kink Controversy. It's another black and white Pi album. Mono. All the imports you'll hear tonight, well, at least up until the next album, will be mono. That's how they recorded them back in the days. I heard there was a stereo mix of You Really Got Me, which I'm not sure that I've ever heard, but most all the stuff was mono. So anyway, from from Kink Controversy. By the way, you might be noticing a pattern here with all the K's. Kinkdom, Kink Size, Kink Controversy. They kept that going for a little bit. I want to play Where Have All the Good Times Gone? Really good song, covered by the same hair band that did You Really Got Me. They did an admirable job, I'm sure. Here we go.
My life would never stop to worry about a thing. Open up and shout it out, never tried to sing. Wondering if I'd done wrong. Will this depression last so long? Won't you tell me, where have all the good times gone? Where have all the good times gone? Well, once we had an easy ride and always felt the same. Time was on my side, now had everything to gain. Let it be like yesterday. Please let me have happy days. Won't you tell me, where have all the good times gone? Where have all the good times gone? Look back on all the things they used to do.
By the way, if you want to hear some good stories about the early Kinks, Ray Davis's Storyteller is a really great CD, half live or mostly live. He sits and tells the stories of the songs that he's playing. Anyway, there's some really good stuff on this album, Till the End of the Day, which was a hit in the States. Had a lot of hits in the US up to a point, and then that was it. And from this next album, what do we got here? From this next album, Face to Face, they had a hit with Sunny Afternoon. It's up to Jamie, number 2. All right, name one of the early names of the Kinks. Oh, I only know one. Is there more? Ravens? Oh, man. Can't stop the Jamie today. All right, well,
You didn't know.
Kink Face to Face. I always have a British copy of this one. British mono copy. Both of these are, oh, this is a stereo one. But it wouldn't be true stereo. It doesn't say that here. But this album was, I believe, recorded or mixed originally in mono. And this would be the UK version. Nice, a little more colorful. That's a nice original TriStar reprise. This is just a Pi, black and white. 1980s Pi, but it sounds good. Oh wait, what I wanted to play you from this album was a song called Rosie. Now, Rosie was based on Ray's sister that had emigrated to Australia, and everybody was missing her, especially the parents, right? Rosie, won't you please come home? This is like 66, about a year before the Beatles did a similar theme song called She's Leaving on the Sgt. Pepper. But anyway, Rosie, won't you please come home? Let's play a little bit of that.
Mama, I don't know where you've been. Rosie, won't you please come home? Your room's clean and no one's in it. Oh, my Rosie, how I miss you. You are all the world to me. Take a look and see if you like it. If you like it, please come back. Rosie, won't you please come home? Since you joined the other bosses, you don't know us anymore. And then let your trouble pass. Rosie, Rosie, will I tell me if you don't want to come back? I will sacrifice all I have to have a happy home once more. Rosie, won't you?
Thought I heard some harpsichord back there. That would have been Nicky Hopkins, session keyboard player. Little tribute on this album to the session players called He's the Session Man. Or is it just called Session Man? But anyway. There's a song Dandy also on this, and Herman's Hermits had a hit with Dandy. Herman's Hermits did a lot of cool songs, and they did this Ray Davies song called Dandy, which was also on the Face to Face album and had a hit with it. Kinks also had a live album, which we're not going to play, but I'll show it to you in a minute. A lot of screaming on this album. It's hard to get through it all, Next came Something Else by the Kinks, 1967. We're starting to get a little psychedelic here. Everybody's getting a little psychedelic, right? Oh, this is a stereo copy. Not sure if this is true stereo or not. I wouldn't count on it. But anyway, Lazy Old Sun. We'll play a little bit of that. That's about the most psychedelic song on this album here. And since it's 1967, Ray could do it too. And the boys. Some scratches on this one, huh? Anyway, this one didn't sell very well at all in the States, and it's not that common. It's the last album produced by Shel Talmy, the American producer. It came to England and produced The Who and the Easy Beats, as well as all the Kinks album up to this one.
Oh, shit.
From here on in, Ray Davies is going to be the producer. The reason why I say Ray Davies is I've been saying Ray Davies for 40 years, and I didn't know that there was a better way of saying it, or a more historically correct way of saying it. I don't know why, really, I'm just guessing. But anyway, I got this as a gift recently. We Are the Village Green Preservation Society, 1968. It's the 50th anniversary of when this record came out. And this is on a Pi import, and it's really thick. It's a 180 gram, and it looks like the old Pi label would have looked, I guess. A blue one, that is. And this was successful in the UK, not so much in the States, I don't think. But the song I wanted to play for you from this was Wicked Annabella. Why? Because I like those psychedelic songs, I guess. This is kind of a song about the house that the kids walk past, and it looks deserted, but an old lady lives in there. And you're afraid to go past. This is that house, and I think I'll pick up about halfway through. This is a nice little instrumental at the in the middle of this toward the end. This is a Spanish import that I bought in the 80s. It was kind of like a discount Spanish label. But anyway, when this song would have came out in the States, when the album came out in the States, it would have looked a lot like this two-tone reprise label here. Reprise Records, Frank sold to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers made it a subsidy of Warner Brothers, and I'm pretty sure that's when the label changed, and it would stay that color for not too long before it went to the solid brown. But anyway, so I think we have time for something from Arthur. That is great, because I've got something in mind. That is great. I could find the sleeve to this. All right. Nothing bad shall happen to that. Arthur, we mentioned before. This might not be my cleanest copy of Arthur, but didn't do that well in the UK. It did okay in the States. Had almost a top 40 hit with Victoria. I think it was 41. But there's a quirky little song on here called "She's Bought a Hat Like Princess Marina." Oh, while this song is on, I'm gonna have to look for the picture of Princess Marina, because it's key to this story here. Princess Marina married the Duke of Windsor, one of the royal family, and she was a Greek princess, and she had these really great hats. And the character in this show, in this song, this show is like a show, and songs sung by different people, I suppose, so that could make it an opera. By the way, supposedly Pete Townsend kind of was inspired by this, but not the first concept album story to come out of the UK. That would go to F.S. Sorrow from the Pretty Things.
she's scrubby.
That was like when the guy goes backstage and you hear all the noise, and except I came back with nothing.
She cares for the time on the fair, but she sports her hats like Princess Marina, so she don't care. He sports a hat like Antonina, because it makes him feel like home, but he can't afford a rose or a Bentley. He has to buy a second-hand phone. He tries to feed his wife and his family.
Well, you get the idea. He bought a hat like Anthony Elder, right-hand man to Chuck Churchill. Oh, I'm sorry, Winston Churchill. Chuck Churchill. That's another show. We'll do one at 10 years after one day. But anyway, here we go. This is Stump to Jamie number 3. How far do I have to go? There we go. Stump to Jamie number 3. What second band member? What two band members were? Oh, two band members from Argent. Yeah, Bob Henry was the bass player for Argent, and the drummer took over for Mick Avery when he left the band, and Bob Henry and Bob Henry was the drummer. Jim Rodford was the bass player. Jim Rodford was the bass player from Argent, and Bob Henry replaced Mick Avery. But anyway, it wasn't Ian Gibbons, of course, because he was the keyboard player for Kinks. Anyway, that was the Kinks. If you want to learn more of the Kinks' early days, Dave Davies wrote a fine book several years ago. Gets into not only the Kinks but the early British music scene. Anyway, my next show, I'll be going back to America to zoom in on one of those very underappreciated at the time, influential acts, but I'm not going to tell you who it is now. So anyway, until that time, please share, subscribe, post, and I'm forgetting one. Tell your friends, share, subscribe. Oh, comment. If you have any comments, please comment. Comment, okay? It's been great spending this time with you playing my records. Later, man, move it.